we all see the perfect lives on Facebook. I love the meme last Halloween, I'm sure it was before that too, that said you should dress up as who you are on Facebook for Halloween. And we all get caught up in the perfect lives, the curated lives, the airbrushed lives of others on Facebook. And what got me to talk about this right now was I've had a couple clients hit hard times while I'm working with them, after I've worked with them, years after I've worked with them, and the shame that comes, or the wanting to hide the hard times, wanting to hide the cash crunch or the mistake that cost them a lot of money, or the eventual business shutting down and filing bankruptcy. And I'm grateful that I've experienced that in the past to help them through that, filing bankruptcy in '08 after the credit crisis. My mortgage brokerage went down in a ball of flames with the bad fundamentals I had built it on. And I've had hard times plenty over the last decade after that. Getting food stamps, being on welfare, I think they call it public assistance now, having to stand in line at the county, county office every morning at every Monday morning at 8 a.m. to show all the places I'd been applying for jobs and all that stuff. So I faced it and I can relate, but I think the hard part that I have, and I've suffered from this myself, is when I'm in the middle of a pinch or a hard time, or see my clients and they're trying to hide it. They're trying to keep the facade. And I just want to encourage you that if or when you face hard times, it's just everybody hits them at some point or another. Find friends that can encourage you and support you through it. Find people that you can be transparent, and don't worry about giving the real reason why you're not doing something. I hit a cash crunch a year ago, and I got invited to an event as a guest. A gal wanted me to come, and couldn't justify the $1,000 it was going to take to fly there and stay in a hotel, and I probably didn't even have the money to do it. I could have scrimped and clawed and made it, and when she invited me, I kind of hummed and hawed, and I finally followed up afterward and said, sorry to not be upfront. I can't afford this. And it was embarrassing at the time, but I realized I just needed to own it. Cash crunches happen. And I think being transparent about it is so freeing, and not worrying about the perception that you're not keeping up the facade, or you're not keeping up the image, is so freeing. And everybody faces it in business. Every entrepreneur I know faces it. When I filed bankruptcy, my bankruptcy attorney was a mentor of mine in grad school, and we were meeting with him a week after our firstborn was born, in beginning of February in 2008. And I was sitting there looking at him, Riley Walter. He's a great man. He's a great mentor. And I was 29. I wasn't even 30 yet. And as I'm signing the paperwork to get the process started, he said, this is just a badge of honor for a lot of entrepreneurs. He says he knew a lot of investors that won't invest in people that haven't had failures yet, because it shows that they just don't know how to roll with the punches, or they're not sure how they're going to respond when the shit hits the fan. And he rattled off a bunch of big names here in the Central Valley in California that have empires now, that have gone through multiple bankruptcies in the past. And I'm not saying to pursue bankruptcy, that's not the goal. But when things do hit, being transparent and not hiding it, especially from your spouse, from your employees, have a way to communicate with them when you're feeling the pinch. I've had clients in the past where I've helped facilitate those conversations, or they've done it on their own and they've discussed, hey, we can let 2 or 3 of you go, or we can all take a pay decrease and keep everybody around. It's your choice. Let's do this democratically. And I think being able to just shed the guilt, shed the shame, shed the image concern is a really big deal. And so all of my clients, I tell them if they ever get in a pinch, past clients, whatever, even friends, friendly acquaintances, I don't ever want any of them to ever experience or carry the burden of this stuff on their own. I mean, people commit suicide over this stuff, and it's not worth it. I know guys that ate a bullet for facing less than what I faced with our bankruptcy, and we'd had a miscarriage about a year before that, and just difficult times, things that stressed everybody and stressed a lot of people, but we never went without, and it always turns out for good in the end, is my belief. So if you're facing a hard time, I'm not the kind of guy that's a big cry on my shoulder type and welcome the wounded to just seek me out, but I'm happy to be that resource for you, to give you perspective, to encourage you that what you're facing right now is not impossible. It may seem like the world's crashing down. It may seem like you're going to lose everything, but I guarantee you, you will survive. And but you come from a lineage of survivors. We all do. If our family members are in our lineage, in our ancestry, weren't survivors, they wouldn't have had the generations continue. And especially here in America, the stuff they've had to overcome to get here and migrate out west or survive in the Midwest or live through the bitter winters of the East or the lack of resources. Everybody's a survivor. So you have that in your lineage, and I want to encourage you that you will survive it. And again, do reach out. I'm happy to encourage you, give you perspective, but wanted to really hammer this home that there's nothing to hide. It's okay when things don't work out, when finances get tight, when you make mistakes, when you got collectors calling, when you've got vendors mad at you because you're late behind on payments. Just talk it out. That was probably the biggest thing I learned in my bankruptcy, was not to hide. Communicate with everybody. Tell them where you're at. There's a lot of grace. There's a couple knuckleheads that'll beat you up over it, but they can't do anything. They can't squeeze water out of a rock. So it's a long process to get lawsuits and stuff filed against you, and even then, it doesn't matter if that happens. But anyway, enough rambling. Reach out, talk to somebody. Don't hide it. There's nothing to be ashamed of. It's part of your growing process. It's part of refining you, becoming stronger mentally, getting better perspective on what matters. And I hope that encourages you. Have a great day.